Joining us now is Gatestone Institute Senior Fellow. He's author of the upcoming book, Plan Red, China's Project to Destroy America. Gordon Chang back with us. And Gordon, you've got a warning about this as well, about these devices and how Israel was able to infiltrate the supply chain to get back at Hezbollah. But you think China could do the same thing to anybody, to America? Yeah,
it would be a lot easier for China. Remember, Israel had to infiltrate the supply chain. China doesn't have to do that because it is the beginning of the supply chain. They manufacture all of this stuff. So if we're talking about pagers, walkie-talkies, but remember also home solar systems, which means your toaster. You can do all of these devices can be laced with explosives. And so therefore, everything that we buy from China can be a weapon against the United States.
And one thing we were talking about during the commercial break is the fact that America buys drones from China. What is it? DJI. And this is the drone maker, a Chinese-owned. Yes. And we're using these drones in the military? Are you serious?
And the Secret Service and the FBI. You know, these drones, DJI has 70% of the global drone market. And, you know, if you buy a DJI drone, the default position and setting on these things is the stuff goes to the cloud, which means it goes to China, which means every time you put one of these things up, China is looking at your backyard or whatever. So really what we've got is complete infiltration of the U.S. You know, we talked last week about the ZPMC drone cranes. It's the same thing. Everything that you buy from China can have a cellular modem on it, and these devices can communicate back to China, which means that China can speed up or stop your pacemaker. It can close your front door. It can actually drive your car off the cliff.
Well, can it drive your car into a lake? I mean, look, a new warning about Chinese electric vehicles. A new report from a British think tank says they could be weaponized by Beijing. Exactly what you're saying. The China Strategic Risks Institute says the UK's domestic car industry makes up 2.5% of the country's GDP, and China's EV market share jumped from just 2% in 2019 to 33.4% in the first half of 2023. With London's refusal to levy tariffs on Chinese EVs, the Institute says it could open the door to a potential backdoor for China into the European market. Mark.
That's not good.
No, I mean, that's not good.
We need Elon Musk to save the day once again, right? You know, maybe move some of the manufacturing back here. Mexico, obviously, we know he opened the Gigafactory in Mexico. But, Gordon, I want to ask you about Taiwan, because just a few days ago, we sent a jet over the Taiwan Strait. And the Navy's response, the Navy said we encountered foreign military forces. Apparently, China sent several jets to follow our jet. What do you make of that? Is that an escalation in what's going on in Taiwan?
Well, China says that the Taiwan Strait is sovereign Chinese water, where everybody else in the world says that it is international water. And this issue is not just the Taiwan Strait, but it's also the nearby South China Sea, where China says it's blue national soil. I mean, this is just ludicrous, but this is the idea that China owns the global commons. And it's going to be Taiwan, it's going to be the Philippines, Japan, there's also air incursions there. This is just throughout the region. China is lashing out at everybody, Mark, and that's a really bad sign.
And they want to overtake the United States as the #1 economy and global power. I mean, FBI Director Christopher Wray says the U.S. has now disrupted a second Chinese hacking group, taking thousands of compromised devices out of its grasp. This is Flax Typhoon. It was being run by a Chinese tech company which was set to collect intelligence for the Chinese government. The group thought to have compromised more than 250,000 devices across the world. Wray said that Flax Typhoon was targeting infrastructure, corporations, media organizations, even schools and government agencies, Gordon. This is exactly what you're discussing here.
Yeah, Flax Typhoon took over devices. I mean, and they can take over almost any device. So really what we're talking about is China's basically having millions of planted bombs across the United States. It's that serious. The Israelis showed that you can do it. The Chinese now must be thinking, how do we take advantage of this with regard to the U.S. and other countries?
Yeah. Do you think people understand this real quick before we jump?
I don't think people fully understand it yet. I think it's going to take a little bit of time to process.
When stuff starts happening in schools, too, by the way, is that the thing that's going to ring off the alarm bells finally?
Schools.
The schools, yeah, that stuff's in schools, too. Great. Yeah.
Everywhere.
Yes.
Everywhere in the United States.
Gordon, thank you. We've said many times China is inside the gates. They sure are. Gordon Chang, thank you, sir.